What if the very thing that gives a civilization its strength is also the reason it collapses? What if honor becomes blindness? Tradition becomes paralysis. Identity becomes a prison. History doesn't just record wars and plagues. It records something far more dangerous. Moments when cultures refused to bend. Moments when adaptation felt like betrayal. Moments when pride whispered, "We don't change," and that whisper turned into a cage. If you want to understand why societies fall, why institutions decay, why communities fracture, you have to study the times when culture became stronger than survival itself. Stay with me till warning number 1, because the final one is happening right now and most people inside it don't even realize they're trapped. Let's begin. Warning 10. The Spartan upbringing when strength refused to evolve. In the city-state of Sparta, boys were not raised. They were forged. At age 7, they were taken from their families and thrown into the Agoge, a brutal state-controlled training system designed to eliminate weakness. Pain was normal. Compassion was suspicious. Individuality was dangerous. Sparta built a culture around one identity. We are warriors. For centuries, that identity worked. At the Battle of Thermopylae, their discipline stunned the world. 300 Spartans stood against a Persian empire. But culture has a hidden flaw. When it becomes sacred, it becomes untouchable. While other Greek states experimented with trade, naval innovation, political reforms, Sparta remained rigid. They despised commerce. They distrusted walls. They resisted intellectual growth. When warfare shifted toward flexibility and naval dominance, especially during the Peloponnesian War, Sparta struggled to adapt. Their identity was too pure to evolve. And slowly, quietly, the warrior machine faded. Present parallel. Organizations today still glorify grind culture, hardness, no weakness. But what happens when emotional intelligence becomes more valuable than aggression? What happens when collaboration beats domination? If your identity is built only on strength, what happens when the battlefield changes? Future question. If a society trains its children only for yesterday's war, who prepares them for tomorrow's world? Warning 9. The samurai honor that outlived its era. For centuries in Japan, the samurai were not just soldiers. They were the culture. Bound by Bushido, the code of honor, loyalty and ritual mattered more than survival. Then came gunpowder. Portuguese traders introduced firearms in the 16th century. And suddenly, peasants with muskets could kill elite swordsmen from a distance. Some warlords adapted, but many samurai saw guns as dishonorable. To die by a blade was noble. To shoot from afar felt cowardly. Yet wars are not won by poetry. When the Meiji Restoration transformed Japan into a modern industrial state, the samurai class was dismantled. Their identity was too rigid for modernization. They became relics of romantic tragedy. Present parallel. How many professionals today refuse to learn new tools because they belong to another era? How many industries laugh at disruption until it replaces them? Future question. If honor prevents innovation, is it still honor or just fear wearing tradition's mask? Warning 8. Warrior codes versus gunpowder, the shock of modern warfare. Across parts of South Asia, traditional warrior codes shaped battle for centuries. Rajput valor emphasized face-to-face combat. Cavalry charges symbolized prestige. Then came gunpowder empires. The rise of the Mughal Empire changed the rules of war. Cannons shattered fort walls. Matchlocks pierced armor. Some resisted adaptation, clinging to older concepts of noble warfare. But gunpowder did not respect tradition. Rigid martial identity met technological reality. And identity lost. Present parallel. In business, politics, even personal branding, we cling to what once gave us status. But the battlefield has changed again. AI, automation, information warfare. Will pride delay adaptation? Future question. When the next technological shock arrives, will we adapt or romanticize our own irrelevance? Warning 7. Medieval knights when cavalry pride collided with arrows. In medieval Europe, the mounted knight was unstoppable, or so they believed. Heavy armor. Noble bloodlines. Divine right. Then came disciplined infantry and longbowmen. At the Battle of Agincourt, English longbows shredded French cavalry. Mud slowed horses. Arrows pierced myth. Yet aristocratic culture resisted change. Knighthood was identity, not just military function. Admitting cavalry weakness meant admitting cultural illusion. And illusions are hard to bury. Present parallel. What systems today still rely on prestige instead of performance? What leaders assume status equals effectiveness? Future question. When symbols of power stop working, will we reinvent them or defend them into extinction? Warning 6. The scholar bureaucrats when exams became shackles. For centuries, China's imperial administration was run through the Confucian examination system. It created stability, order, meritocracy at first, but by the late Qing era, memorization of classical texts outweighed innovation. While Europe industrialized, Qing officials debated poetic philosophy. The empire that once led the world technologically became rigid. The Opium Wars exposed a painful truth. Cultural pride had calcified. Present parallel. Education systems today often reward repetition over creativity. Corporations reward compliance over experimentation. Are we creating thinkers or guardians of outdated manuals? Future question. If tradition dominates imagination, can renewal ever begin? Warning 5. The Janissaries, guardians who blocked reform. The elite Janissary corps of the Ottoman Empire were once revolutionary, disciplined, modern, effective, but over centuries, they transformed into a political force resisting modernization. When sultans attempted reform, Janissaries revolted. They protected tradition even when tradition weakened the empire. Eventually, in 1826, Sultan Mahmud II crushed them in the auspicious incident. Reform required destroying the very guardians of identity. Present parallel. How often do internal institutions block necessary transformation? How many organizations protect legacy departments while competitors innovate? Future question. If reform threatens your identity, will you reform or sabotage survival? Warning 4. Victorian morality, clean streets, dirty secrets. In Victorian Britain, morality was public performance. Sex was taboo. Disease was shameful. Reputation was everything. Public health discussions were delayed because discussing prostitution or sanitation felt improper. Cholera did not respect modesty. Cultural discomfort slowed reform. Image mattered more than adaptation. Present parallel. How many crises today are worsened because leaders fear reputational damage? Climate, health, economic fragility. Are we too concerned with optics to confront reality? Future question. When protecting image delays truth, what invisible crises grow beneath the surface? Warning 3. Tribal codes when loyalty blocks unity. Across many regions from pre-colonial Africa to parts of the Middle East, tribal honor codes preserved identity for centuries. But during colonial incursions and modern state formation, fragmentation weakened collective resistance. Internal loyalty outweighed external strategy. Colonizers exploited division. Culture protected the tribe, but fractured the nation. Present parallel. Today, ideological tribes dominate politics worldwide. Party over country. Identity over cooperation. Are we repeating the same fragmentation? Future question. If unity threatens identity, will we choose survival or symbolic purity? Warning 2. Corporate culture, the denial of disruption. In the late 20th century, giants like Kodak dominated photography. Ironically, Kodak invented the digital camera. But digital threatened film their identity. Leadership hesitated. Corporate culture whispered, "This will cannibalize us." So others did. Blockbuster laughed at streaming. Nokia underestimated smartphones. Culture became comfort. Comfort became blindness. Present parallel. How many industries today dismiss AI, decentralization, or shifting consumer behavior? Future question. If disruption comes from inside your own lab, will you bury it? Warning 1. Social media identity, the invisible cage. This is not ancient. This is now. Online, identity is curated, defended, weaponized. Algorithms reward certainty. Outrage strengthens tribe. Nuance weakens brand. Adaptation feels like betrayal. Changing your mind risks exile. So people double down. Echo chambers become digital Spartas. The cage is invisible because it feels empowering. But rigidity online spills offline. Polarization deepens. Dialogue shrinks. Culture has become performance. Present reality. When your identity becomes your currency, flexibility becomes expensive. Final question. If we cannot change publicly, how will we evolve privately? And if we cannot evolve at all, what kind of future are we building? History doesn't collapse in a single moment. It stiffens first. It hardens. It refuses. And then one day it shatters. The most dangerous cage isn't built by enemies. It's built by beliefs we refuse to question. If this episode challenged the way you see culture, identity, and adaptation, then you already understand the warning. The real question is, will we bend, or will we break?